Hello and welcome to JD Bots. This is the bot series on enterprise chatbot. So, we have been continuing with the proactive messaging and I got one of the query that if user has not initiated the conversation, then how about sending a message proactively to the user? How we can do that? Because since user has not initiated the conversation, so how do we get the conversation ID? Yeah, so there is a way. So when user installs the bot for the first time, it doesn't have to be user installing the bot. Either the bot can be proactively installed or it can be installed by the admin to the whole organization. Yeah. So we have two options here. One, installing the bot in the user's scope by the admin or proactively installing the bot. But instead of doing the admin side of part, we'll be looking at later. But what I'll be doing, I'll be just installing the bot to a user like normally as we do, but I'll not initiate the conversation. So we'll cover that scenario where we are not initiating the conversation, but still we'll be able to send the proactive message. Yeah. So there are like many things in order to achieve this. In order to do that, we have to first create the Azure storage account, because that will be the used for storing all the details related to the user when the user joins the conversation for the first time. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the our resource group enterprise chatbot RG, and I'll create a Azure storage account. So let's see if I can find it. Nowadays, it is very difficult to find the resources from this search the marketplace, because the resources are very vast, provided by different providers, not only Microsoft Azure. So it is really difficult to find such resources. That's why I find this category is much more useful. And sometimes even in categories, we don't have much. Okay, publisher type, I'll select Microsoft so that I only get the Microsoft resources. Yeah, perfect. This is what I was looking for. In the latest updates provided by Microsoft and Azure, they have released the storage table, like table API for the Cosmos DB. So both of them works the same way in the implementation. It's just that Cosmos DB reduces your cost because they have added one more feature as serverless. So let's see whether let's see the feature, like what all things we can create under this Cosmos DB. Yeah, here it is. So here we have different options coming up. Core SQL recommended, Azure Cosmos DB API for MongoDB. So if you're just looking for those document types of things where you store the documents in JSON format, then you can pick up this one, Core SQL recommended. So it just supports native API for working with documents. Yeah, and this is the new thing there that is added, that is Azure Table, fully managed database service for apps written for Azure Table storage. If you plan to migrate to Azure Cosmos DB but do not want to rewrite your application to use the SQL API, yeah. So this is I was telling. So if you have the Azure Table storage, then you can just migrate to here because the implementation will remain the same. So what we will do, will not pick up as of now because we are not yet comfortable with using this one. We'll just pick up the storage one, storage account. Yeah. So we'll be creating a storage account, and the resource group that I'll be selecting is Enterprise Chatbot, and the storage account name Enterprise Chatbot Storage. Oops. So it has to be in lowercase. Uh, okay, it has to be only in lower stage. Okay, let me just remove all of that and just keep Enterprise Chatbot. Yeah. Okay, so I'll keep all the settings as default and I'll move to advanced, and anything we need to change. Mm, I don't think so. We have to change anything over here. Network access, let it be accessible from all networks. Data protection, yeah, encryption. Okay, let's review and create. We'll wait for some time for the deployment to happen. In the meantime, let me open the documentation where we'll get the code for .NET to work with our storage account. So Azure Storage C Sharp. No, we need Azure Table Storage because we'll be working with the table. Let me open few of the documentation and let's see what is the thing that we need. Okay, we have to install this particular package and creating a storage account. Mm, this is the Azure CLI that they are using. Authenticate the client, then table entities, create the table service client. Yeah, this is what we need. Account name and storage account key, and table name, table. Okay, all right. We got some of the code. Get an Azure table, delete an Azure table, create the table client. Wait a second. Create the table service client. Okay. Create an Azure table that we do not need as of now because we'll be creating manually for now. Or let us create from the code itself, but we'll think that later. Then get an Azure table. This is how we can get an Azure table. Delete an Azure table, create the table client. To interact with table entities, we must find construct a table client. Okay. Okay, this is how we can add the data to it, that is entities, and this is how we can query the data. Okay, let's see. But this was not the documentation I was interested in. There was one more documentation that, yeah, I think this is the one. In the meantime, let me also get this one, Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer, because it's a easy way for me to visualize my data. So let me get this tool for Windows. Okay, let it install, and in the meantime, let us go through some of the code examples. So You must be wondering that why am I searching all of this and then copy pasting things. Yeah, we all developers do the same things. So I don't want to just write from scratch and explain you step by step. I just want you to understand how you can search from the documentation and implement in your use case. Yeah. So the developers who try to just make use of the documentation and put your code into your project, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Yeah. There are some legends who have written this code, and we are not going to just look at that, those things. Yeah. Okay. So let us go through the samples and okay, I think we have a lot of code here. Let's look at the quick start first and program.cs. Okay, this is perfect. So they have created a table service client and got the Cosmos connection string. Okay, and they are creating a table with this name. What if my table is already there? Yeah, this is the one. Create if not exist, and I'm just creating a object, the entity that I have to add, and add entity product one, read a single item. This is how we can read it. Read multiple items. Perfect. This is what we are looking for. So in the meantime, let me just open our project and install this NuGet package. Okay, we have this storage account ready, that storage explorer ready. Okay, we were deploying our storage account, right? Let's see. Yeah, currently it is empty. It does not have any tables as of now, and we can either create a new one over here. But for now, let us visualize our table, how our table will look like, what all information we have to put it there. Yeah. So let me just create a blank workbook and just show you. So the first thing will be partition key. It is like a unique key for your row, each row. And partition key should be the what we can have in partition key. Hmm, object ID, user object ID. Then we can have user ID. This has to be Teams user ID. Then we can have, let me increase the font size. Okay, and let me increase the width of my column. Yeah. Next, we can have the, again the object ID. We already have the partition key, but we have to keep the object ID as well. Next, we need tenant ID, Teams tenant ID. It will be same across your organization. If you have a multi-tenant bot and you have given your bot to another organization, like another tenant, then they must be having a different tenant ID. Then the most important part will be the conversation ID and Teams conversation ID. Okay, we have a basic skeleton ready. Okay, so anything else we need for now? We have, I think, most of the information if we need it. Okay, let me just put one more. I'm not sure if we can get the information that user is a guest user or the member of the organization, but we can still put it user type. And if you want, you can put the role as well, because that is what we also get from the Teams channel. And most important, another thing, that is service URL, because that will be used for proactive messaging. And let us open our previous sample, proactive notification console app. So let us see what all things we were adding over there. And in my another Visual Studio instance, I will open our enterprise chatbot. Okay, so this was our last implementation of proactive messaging from the console app, and we were adding, so what all things are required: app ID that we'll be getting from the, like, we already have it from the app settings.json. This app password we also have. Service URL we have added in our design. Next we have the conversation ID, that also we have added, and message, we'll think of how we can draft this message. Okay, perfect. Basically we'll be modifying this particular sample. Okay, so we have our storage explorer ready. So why have I installed this? So once we are interacting with our storage account, we'll be seeing the live data over here. Instead of going to Azure and seeing it step by step, let it be seeing up here. So you need to first log in to your account. So let's focus on the storage account and connection string, shared account key, and name. Okay, let us look at the implementation, what they are taking. They are taking a connection string, and let us see if we have a connection string over here. So access keys, we have key 1, key 2, but where is the connection string? Okay, let's search connection string for Azure Table storage. Connect to an emulator account for Azure storage. Yeah, this is the one that we are looking for. To create a connection string for your Azure storage account, use the following format. Indicate whether you want to connect to the storage account through HTTPS and replace my account name. Okay, my account name and my account key. For example, your connection string might look like this. Perfect. This is what we are looking for. Yeah, we'll just focus on this now. Control C, and let me open my storage explorer and create a new connection. Storage account using connection string. So I'll just give a name as enterprise chatbot, and my connection string is this one. Here is the account name I have to add, that is enterprise chatbot, and the account key, let me get it from here. Okay, so I have added the account name and account key, and let us go to next. Make sure you only connect to resources you trust. Okay, perfect, and connect. Okay, my connection was successfully added. I can go to here, and here is this enterprise chatbot, and here are the tables. Currently it will be none. Okay, these are some system generated tables that we are not interested in as of now. Perfect. So we have our base ready. Now let us start something nice. I'll I have come to the enterprise chatbot, and since I have already mentioned earlier in our last video that if you want to store this user details, you have to do it on the conversation update activity, and that is what we are going to do now. So before showing the welcome message, we have to capture all the details. Okay, so here we need to add a new code action, and let us see how it works. So here we can call our method that is store user details. All right, and let us put a comma over here. Perfect. So this is the method. Okay, let's not put this. Okay, so now let us create a method out of this one. Generate method, and let us go to that method. Yeah, so this contains a dialog context and options. Basically, we can change it to DC and options. And here we need to get the details of the user joining the conversation. So what I'll do, var members added, and here I need to make sure if members added or not, and how we can check await dc dot context dot members added. No, here it is not there. Activity dot members added. Perfect. Okay, so what does it say? It does not contain a definition of awaiter. Yeah, so it's not an awaiter, so let's remove that. Yeah, okay, for now let us continue the conversation. Return await dc dot continue. Wait a second. Context dot, I think it is under dc dot continue dialog. So if you are familiar with the step context, it is same but yeah, slightly different. There it is step context, here it is dialog context. Yeah, so I'll just add a cancellation token. Is it required? Okay, let's keep it as of now as it is. Okay, so I'll put a breakpoint here and let us try to debug this, like what all things we get it up here. So to start debugging, I have to set up my ngrok. So ngrok http host header localhost and 3978. Perfect. Let me copy this one. Before that, I have to make sure that my project does not contain few of the things. That is, I think it should contain. Yeah. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. I'm not sure whether my app password is still valid, but let us go. Let us go to our resource group, and wait a second. Why the app service plan type is changed to server farms? Strange. So WPX, let us see what we have. CWH. Let me quickly add one. Okay, let us delete this one because even I don't know what's the credential for that. Perfect. And I'll be adding this up here. Okay, and let us start debugging. And in the meantime, let me add my endpoint URL. Perfect. So now our bot is ready and we are ready for the interaction. Let us open the Teams channel. Yeah, it will not work because I have to first uninstall the bot and see whether I have my end this breakpoint is hitting or not. In order to show you that scenario as well, if I just type something, it will not be hit. My breakpoint will not be hit because I am already joined the conversation. Okay, so let me just say hi to the bot. Yeah, our endpoint is hit and something. Okay, we have put a breakpoint in on turn. So let us continue. It should reply me hi. Yeah, perfect. So basically that endpoint is not hit. What I'll do, I'll go to the apps and manage your apps. Here I'm searching for enterprise chatbot. I'll just remove this app. Yeah, so we have to look at this scenario as well. When user uninstalls an application, so you have to delete the entry from the storage table as well. Yeah, so I'll upload a custom application. And where is my project? It must be, let me see where my project is present. JDBots chatbots. Okay. JDBots chatbot and Teams app manifest. Let me upload that. Okay. I'm adding this one. So I'm just assuming my breakpoint will be hit. Perfect. So here it is. And let us see what all things, because it's a conversation update activity. So here members added are two. Yep. So let us open this one. So one will be the user and another one will be the bot. So I'll open the first one. This one C37. I'm not sure if this is me. So let me open another one. Yeah, so that is me. The first you member joining the conversation is me because I have an object ID. This is what we have to again store in our storage table because this will be our primary key. Based on this object ID, we'll be retrieving, querying our data. And here is my user ID and another things, what all things we have. So these are all the members added properties. If you go to the activity properties, here you will get other details such as tenant ID. Okay, here we are only getting the tenant ID, and under conversations we'll be getting the conversation ID and again the tenant ID. Yeah. So I think this is the best place where I can get the tenant ID instead of just passing this JSON. Also, what else we have? Yeah, perfect. So we come to know that okay, we have few of the members added, and we are only concerned about the user joining the conversation, not the bot joining the conversation. Okay, so I'll stop debugging and just try to modify this one. Okay, so first thing, let's suppose if sometimes what happens, we hit this code up when user joins the conversation after a long time. Yeah, like not join the conversation, like just start interacting with the bot after a long time. What we have to do, we have to make sure that members added is not null. For that, I'm just using this particular piece of code. Okay, so here I'm just checking if members added, if it is null, or if there are no recipients. Basically, I'm just checking if there is a user recipient or not, because I'm not interested in the bot, I'm just interested in the user. So this piece of code will be checking that. And if it is null and if there is no user, then I'm just continuing the dialog. Okay, and else if members added dot any, so I'll just reuse this piece of code. And here I'm checking if I have some user. Just make sure here I'm using the not operator and here I'm not using it. That means if I have some members, if I have some users, then the code base will be coming up here. Yeah. So these are the two scenarios, and one more scenario, let's put it over here. If this two not satisfied, and we have to check for members removed. Okay. And here also we have to put the same condition because we have to remove an entry from the storage table. Okay. So here in this scenario, I'm just checking if any members are removed. Here in the first if condition, if at all there are no members removed, I'll just go ahead and continue my dialogue. And if at all some users are removed, then I'll go ahead and remove that entry. Yeah, perfect. So we have these two skeletons ready, and let us go ahead and include a try catch block. Perfect. So I never tried this shortcut for using this try catch. So I always use like type this try catch exception throw and all. So I did, I just type try and just click on the tab button twice. So this generated me code snippet. Yeah. Okay, and let us throw something. Uh, we need to log this thing actually, because we don't have to show it to the user. We have to log something. Uh, but something we have to show it to the user. dc dot con sorry context dot send activity. Do we have send activity? Yes, we have. And message factory dot text. Since this will be hit only once when user joins the conversation, so I'm having some trouble initiating your conversation. Please contact your administrator. Okay, so when some exception has occurred, then what I need to make sure, um, so I have to just cancel this out, cancel all dialogues, and that's it. So that my conversation does not continue. I'm just making sure I'm just canceling all the dialogues. And I need to just log my error over here. Log error. So this logic will be writing it later. Okay. In the meantime, let us come up here and first thing first. So the conversation can have like many different types. Basically three types. One is the personal, and one is the group, and one is the channel. Yeah. So we're just only interested in personal chat as of now. Personal, basically it is a one-to-one chat from the user with the bot, and that property will be getting up here. So dc dot context activity conversation. Do we have something as conversation type? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so we are only interested, and this is a string value, so we are only interested in personal. And let us put a break here, and default. Why it is throwing? Okay, and we have another case where it is a channel, so the conversation that was initiated from the channel. Yeah, so we are not interested in the channel, but we have still written so that if we find it useful in the future, we'll be just continuing our code from here. But we are just creating a skeleton as of now. Yeah, so now let us look at the personal chat. Now we need to find the user's details, team's user details. So we have something called as team's channel account, and it just gets me the user details. And in the if condition, we are just checking if the user is not a exterior user. Basically, if you invite some guest user to your organization, and if you just look at their email IDs, that email ID will contain this particular formatting, that is exterior, ext, and hash. So we are just making sure that user is not a guest user, is not a guest user. So we'll create a separate method to get the user details. I think we had created something earlier, right? I think we had done in debugging the Teams bot. Yep. So we'll do it again here. So I'll just open this method, and here I'll just call that method to get the Teams user details. Okay. So this piece of code, we are just creating a member variable. Then in the try catch block, we are just getting the team's info. So let us make our method async. And here we are just getting the details from the user ID, basically from the members added. So if at all any exception has occurred, we are just returning null, that's all. Yeah. So I'll just go back to the method that this has called, and here let's check for the teams member, teams user, if it is equal to null. If it is not null, let's check that, because that is the first condition that we are performing. Okay, so if teams user is not null, and if the user principal, basically this is the email ID, if email ID is containing this particular ext, if it is does not contain this ext, then we move forward. Else what we have to do, same thing what we have done up here. I'm having some trouble, so and so. This time let us put a different message. In future, what we are planning to do, we will be localizing all of these messages so that we do not keep them in the code. We just have to get it from some configuration or from some database. Yeah. That cleanup we'll be doing it later. So I'm having some trouble getting your team's profile. Please contact your administrator. Just FYI, this is not an exception. It's just that you're not able to get the team's user details. Yeah, of course, it's an exception in terms of getting the user details. Yeah, so what we'll be doing, we'll be just logging some error and cancel all dialog. Yeah, okay. Now coming to the main part here. So here we have to look at that documentation that we were just referencing. So going back to that code, this is the one. What we can do, we can get these details. Where is this add entity? Okay, it's part of the table client. Okay, that's all right. Okay, for now, let us just copy paste these things. Then we'll rearrange the code in a better way. Okay, so we are creating a table service client and let's import our NuGet package. Oops, we have not installed it. I thought we had installed this Azure data tables. So Control C. Why there is a warning icon? Okay, this package is deprecated. Okay, that's all right. We are not concerned about that package. Okay, let's import now the namespace. And since it is getting the details from the environment variable, we will not be getting from there. We'll be getting from the app settings. Before getting that app settings details, let me make sure if I have configuration in the constructor. Yeah, we do have the configuration and I can retrieve the details using this property configuration. Before retrieving the details, let me go to app settings and add the storage account details up here. And uh, let's pick up this way. Hmm. Let's add it directly. Why complicate thing? Storage account connection string. Or how do we retrieve it like this? Hmm? Okay, let's do one thing because in future, let's follow the best practices because in future we'll be adding this way itself. Connection string, and here I have to add storage account. Okay, and let me copy that from here if I have it ready. No, I don't have. Uh, Primary connection string. Yeah, this is the one. Let me copy and paste it up there. Yeah, I got it. Perfect. So I have my connection string ready and I need to get this value from there. So I'll go to my root dialog, and before getting that value, I have to make sure that I get it correctly. So in order to get it correctly, I'll just reference the code for create cross recognizer. I'm just checking how it is getting for um the Q&A and Lewis and all. So it is Q&A colon and the inner part. So Q&A colon and the inner part. Perfect. So this is how I can reference it. That's nice. So I have to make sure that it is configured. I'll copy this particular syntax and I'll go to my method. Where is my method? Here it is. So I'll just check here if configuration. Wait a second. Is it y small c because it has to be a capital C? Okay, 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 okay. So, uh, so it is getting it from this particular method. So where that is being called. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we can use the capital C because that can be reused. Okay. Store user details, and here we are. Okay, I need to make sure that my connection strings, I'll just copy the property from here and go to the root dialog and paste it up here. Connection strings and storage account. We are just checking if it is not null or empty, and I can just remove this portion. Okay, throw new exception. Let's throw an exception. So storage account is not configured for enterprise chatbot. Okay. Let's throw the exception basically. Let's throw the exception at all the places because that will log the error. And what was this exception for? This was for getting the user details. Okay. That is fine. And along with that, I can just include the exception message. Okay. I think this looks fine. And going back here. Okay, let me just remove because this is not required. Okay, where are we? Where are we? Here. So I need to get this value from the app settings. So let me copy it from that if condition. Perfect. So we have our table service client ready. Then we have our table client also ready. The table name, let's pick up user details. Let's make the table name as user details. And we should not hard code this table name. Let us get it from the app settings. Because in future, if you change your table so that it will be easier for you to just change the configuration. Perfect. So I have my create table created ready and create if not exist. Okay, this will create my table. So next what we have, let us go here and we need to create the model class for my table. So let us check the model class how they have created. So this is the model class and it extends this iTable entity. So I'll just go to my project structure and create a new folder. Uh, store models, user details model. Let's not make it, let's make it user details. Okay, perfect. And now I'll just extend this one. and I can import the Azure as well. Okay, I think this does this job for me. Let's check this out. Perfect. It has done something for me, and I'll just pick up whatever things I need and keep the other things as it is. Okay, so okay, let's copy it from here instead of there. Okay, and what does this init mean? Feature init only setters is not available in C Sharp 8.0. Please use language version 9.0 or greater. Predefined type is not defined. Import it. Let's use getter and setter. Okay. So we are not interested in. Okay, wait a second. Row key and partition key. This is important. We need to set this row key and partition key. So I already mentioned, but we made some mistake over here. The partition key, it has to be a row key because row key is a unique key. And the partition key can be just take it as member, or let's take it user type. Let's take it user data. Yeah. And what else we have? Let's define all the properties and then we'll think of that. Do we have to get the username? Let's see whether we are getting it or not. Username, then why it is default? Because this should not be default. Okay, let's check the example. Row key, they have added a unique key, and okay. So let's take it as username. This one, let's take it as user ID. User ID is a string. This one, conversation ID. Next is service URL. Then what else we are missing? User ID, object ID. Yeah. I'll be naming it as the same thing what it has named here. AD object ID. Tenant ID. User type, role, and service URL. Yeah, user type. Let's keep it. Let's create a new property. User type. Because we'll not be getting the guest users because we have made a condition that all the guest users will be rejected. Okay, so let's think of that. Hey, let's remove it. We don't need this one. Okay, perfect. So these two are system generated properties. Yeah. Then row key, partition key. Let's see the sample how they are initializing those things. Row key, partition key, name, and all. Perfect. So let us copy this thing and modify it in our code. So I'll go to the root dialog, and this is the place I need to add these things. Since this is my user details, and I have to import that one as well. Yeah, it is already imported. Okay, so row key, it has to be AD object ID. dc dot context dot activity dot conversation dot AD object ID. Yeah, and partition key, let's make it user data. And let's not hard code again this partition key. Let's keep it here. Let's change the name table data. So what I did, I just modified the property configuration properties, and it is table data now. And here also I need to change it. And this is my partition key property. So here I need to add that property. Perfect. So we don't have the name, right? We have the username, and we need to find it out from where we'll be getting. Okay, we have to debug it, and then we can get the username. For now, some user. Next is the user ID. We don't get the user ID here, do we? No. I think, yeah, from ID. Yeah, this is the one. Gets or share sets the channel ID for the user. Perfect. This is the one. And I think we got the name as well. Let me just get it. Yeah, name is there. What all things? Role is there. Okay. Let us add that role property as well. We were having, okay, let us add that role property. Okay, so let's get that AD. That is fine. Next, we have conversation ID. Okay, so what else? Service URL we are missing. I have to find it out where we can get that service URL. Yeah, in our last video, we did find it out by debugging. Let's see. Yeah, here only we got the service URL. Perfect. Okay, next, what we are missing? Control. Yeah, AD object ID. So it has to be the same thing. What is there on the top? Next, Control Shift tenant ID that we are missing. Perfect. We got all the values that are required. And let me quickly verify because we don't have to add that e tag and a timestamp because it will be auto generated. And the final part, add new item to the server side table. Yeah, perfect. So that is our final part. So it is user details, and I can just change the, let's make it Teams user. Okay. Am I reusing this one? Okay. Teams user details. Okay, perfect. Now we are good to test our implementation. Perfect. So before that, I have to uninstall my bot and retest it, like install it again. Yeah, before that, let me just show you that quick demo of removing. Let's see whether we will hit this endpoint or not. Because I'm about to uninstall my bot. So we have some errors. Okay. Yeah. Correct. So I have to continue my conversation. I don't, because there's a return statement missing. So that if I continue, then user will have get the this one welcome message. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So let us uninstall our bot and see whether my endpoint is hit or not. Then we'll come to know that okay, my members removed is perfectly working fine. Oops, we did not hit that endpoint. Maybe if it is uninstalled from the other side, like from the Teams admin center, but we'll see that case. We'll find it out why it did not hit the endpoint. Okay, let's see. I'm going to install the again this package and I should hit a endpoint. Is it hitting? Yes, but at the exception level. What's the exception? Let's come down and see what's the exception. Wait a second, this is not the exception, is it? Okay. Teams members join details not found. Perfect. Value cannot be null. Parameter row key. So where we had that thing. So let me go up here and let's debug this. Let me put a breakpoint up here so that we'll go step by step. And where that message was coming from, I think this was the message. Did the user retrieve that? Yeah, I'm having some trouble initiating your conversation. Perfect. Let me restart. And let's see if I can just remove the bot from here instead of going there. Okay, yeah, we have the option. So let me just install it again. Okay, so let us go next. Next, I have some members, of course. So my conversation type is personal. Then I'll just step into so that let me put a breakpoint here as well. Here. Okay, did I get the member details? Yes, I did get the member details. I'll just go ahead, return member. Wait a second. Then why does it coming up here? I did got the member details. Is it not saving to the value cannot be null? Parameter row key. Okay, I did got the member details. Okay, let's continue. What is happening? Bot is getting, we are getting interaction with the bot. Do we have a property row key over here? No. AD object ID, email, given name. Okay. I guess we don't have the user principal name. Yeah, we do have the user principal name. This is true. Let's step into. Okay, this is fine. Do we get the configuration? We do have few configuration and we are interested in connection string. Yeah. Okay, let's move next. Okay, we have created the client. Okay, table is also created. Perfect. No, this is the method that will create the table. Okay, table is created. Let us check in the storage account whether table is created or not. Let me refresh this one. Yeah, we do have the table, but we do not have the data. Okay, now we are coming near to our problem. So default, 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 default. Okay, let us check the details up here. Okay, so AD user object ID is null. Let us check the conversation. Aha, so that's the problem. Let's check it from and then let's check the details. Okay, from we'll be getting the AD object ID, not from the conversation. And a just a second. And there is problem with the name and the role. And those details I can get it from the Teams user details that we have already got. So let me just scroll up and Teams user. Let us get these details from Teams user dot AD object ID. No, let's not get it from there. Let's get it from here. Yeah, we both from both the places you can get these details. Okay, so username again it is not there. Teams user dot name. Let what do you think? We can add the email as well. Let's add the email as well. Why am I adding this email? Because this will be sometimes used to send the email notifications. Okay, user ID, yes, this is the correct place. User role, do we have under Teams user? Let's check. Yeah, we do have it, but will not be getting from there. Yeah, this is fine. Conversation ID, service URL, object ID. Yeah, so object ID is present from here. All right, and the tenant ID. Do we have the tenant ID in the conversation? Uh, let's check it out. If we have it from, then we can take it from there. Nope, we don't have it there. Let's take it from conversation then. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just run directly because at least we know that this should work. I'm assuming. Okay, let's uninstall the bot and install it again. Let's quickly check. Okay, so let us see. Okay, hi, nice to meet you. I am a sample bot. Here are some things I can help with. Yeah, if you remember, this was our welcome message. So let's go to Explorer and refresh. Perfecto. So partition key is user data. Row key is my AD object ID. Timestamp it has auto generated. Then this is my username. Then user ID, conversation ID, service URL, AD object ID, tenant ID, and user email. Perfect. So we have all the details that are required to initiate a conversation, like to send a proactive message. Yeah. So let us quickly set this up. So what we have done, we have not initiated the conversation. We have just installed the bot and we got all the details in our storage account table. Okay, and what we'll be doing, we'll be just retrieving these details from the storage account and sending a proactive message from this project that we had created in our last video. Okay, so okay, let's send a hero card then. Before that, we need to again use this project, basically this sample, to get the how to retrieve the details. Yeah, so before that we have to create a single item from the container. Okay, before that we have to create a table client and the table name. In this case I'll be just hard coding everything because I'll not have much time to get it from the app settings, because this is a console application and we are not we are just testing this implementation. Okay, I have to install that. Azure Data Tables. Let us import our namespaces, and the connection string, as of now, I'll be just hard coding it. Okay, and the table name also I'll be hard coding. What is our table name? It is user details. And how do we retrieve the details? We get it using the row key and the partition key. Okay, so why is error? Okay, table client, everything is here, right? Okay, okay, okay. We did not close that bracket. Okay, okay, my mistake. Yep, so it has to be here. Okay, so I'll be just copy pasting our model class, that is entity class. In terms of technicality, we say it as entity class. And I'll just copy and paste it over here in this project. And the namespace, let's keep it proactive notification console app. Okay, so row key, I'm just hard coding. This is my row key, that is AD object ID. And my partition key is user data. Yeah, this is my partition key. Okay, we got the user details, and now we are ready to pass the details in this method. So the first one is user details. Wait a second, how do we retrieve the data? Product dot value dot name. Okay, let me just close this down and see the parameters. Okay, the first one should be app ID. Okay, okay, app ID we have not got it as of now. Let's leave it blank. So we are only interested in the third parameter, that is service URL and the conversation ID. So user details dot value dot service URL. Next is the conversation ID, user details dot value dot conversation ID. All right. So app ID and password, let me get it from the project. So once we create a better platform, we can get this app ID and password from the key vault. Perfect. Let's quickly run this. Hello world, and I should get a notification. Where is my bot? Perfecto. I did got the notification and it is perfectly working fine. Here you see, this is the message that we give for the activity feed. Hello from Proactive Notification Console app. And once you click on that, here we get the card, basically whatever message you have sent as proactively. That is cool. Huh? Okay, we are done with our this much of implementation, and we are happy we were able to achieve what we were trying to do. And let's continue. Yep. Thank you all.